using GitHub on Mac. So before that, let's see what is Git. So Git is a distributed version control system created by Linus Torvald in 2005. We all know who Linus is. He's the man who created Linux operating system. So while developing Linux OS, obviously during development of Linux kernel, he needed a robust distributed version control system because thousands of developers were contributing to it. So he came up with idea of Git, and he also open sourced it so everybody can use it. So how do we actually use Git? So first thing you can do is on your Mac terminal, you just go there and type and see if you already have Git installed. Git space version. So as you can see, I already have a Git installed. That's Apple Git. You can obviously go to Git website and install the Git from there. It's as well into Mac, and both are really same. There could be some differences in version. It depends on your choice really. So that's what is the next step, where we install Git. Official site is https git-scm.com. It's free, and as I said earlier, Apple or Git site depends on your choice. So GitHub, what is GitHub? It is web-based hosting service for version control using Git. GitHub is owned by Microsoft since 2018, and its official site is github.com. All you need to do is go there and create your account to start using it. It's also free for you. These are some basic commands which we are going to use to set up the GitHub account and start pushing your code into GitHub. So let's start from the beginning. So let's see the Git site first. So this is what you will see when you go to Git. And if you don't have Git installed, obviously when you do the version check in terminal, it will give you a pop-up to choose if you want to install Apple Git. I chose that. That's why you are seeing Apple Git on my laptop, but you can deny that and cancel that and come back to Git side and install your choice of the Git version. So that's all you need here. It's pretty much straightforward really. You just go here and choose and download. So I will not do that because I already have done that. Now going back to setting up the GitHub. So for GitHub, we go to github.com. This is the website. This is how it looks like. Obviously I have already an account, so that's why you're seeing this screen. So let's log out. So probably when you come here, you probably will see nothing, and you just need to set up your email ID and user ID and all sorts of initial registration basics. Once you do that, you just sign in. Like that. I already have created my account, so I don't need to register. Here you can see at the corner there is a settings option where you can see all your account information, any notifications. Billing is not required because you're using the public version of it. And this is another important tab which you will be using to set up your SSH keys. So we'll come back to that later on. So first we go to repository. Here, as you can see, I have created a bunch of repositories earlier. You just go here and click new repository. This will be your username / let's say demo1. I choose public. You should also choose public unless you want to use the private version of it. So that's how it looks like once you create a account here and a project. So demo1 is our project already created here. To connect to this from the Git command from basically from your terminal, you have two options. One is https, which is this URL, another one is SSH. So we'll discuss both of them. So let's go back to our terminal. Right. So next thing you can do is first check where am I. I'm on my desktop. I will do demo1. You can create any directory name, and it doesn't have to be same as what you created in GitHub. So I've just created demo1, and I will do cd demo1. So I've created, I'm inside demo1. Now the first command we give is, as you see, so there are a bunch of commands here. First thing you can see is you can set your global configs, which is nothing but your email ID and username, which you have used for setting up your GitHub account. This is kind of a one config, git config -- global user dot email, and then you just in double quotes you can give your email. So if I do this, that's done. Now similarly, this is one time on your machine, user.name. So I will use my username, which is Danisam. Okay, so that's set up. So we have done our first two command. Next one is, remember we are already on demo1, so we don't need to do any cd or anything. You can give this command outside of demo1 also, but yeah, that's fine. And once you create one project, and if after demo1, if I create another project where we want to create our Git repository, we don't need to give this global config command for that. So now what is next? Next is git init. We will initialize git here. So it says initialized empty git repository within my desktop demo1 folder. There is one hidden folder created now. If I go here and if I go to my desktop, I can see here hidden. If you can if your hidden folders are not showing, obviously you can enable it using defaults write command. If you want to know what are the command are, I can show after this demo. So basically, which is default write com.apple.finder. If you type this and then say apple show all files, say yes. That's all you need to do. Once you do that, you just need to, there was a typo, defaults, so I said yes, and then you come to your finder, press option command and right click, and then you say relaunch. Once you do that, you will be able to see your hidden folders here. So that's all you need to do for that. If you want to hide them back, you can just say no here instead of yes. So that will do the job. So coming back to our do command K to clear up my screen. So we did already git init. So after git init, our git repository has been initialized. If I say git status, this no commits yet, nothing is there. So let's create a file, touch test1 test.txt. And now if I run git status, I can see test.txt file, which is in red color. It means hasn't been added, so I will do the next command, which is git add. So git add, you can do you can use wildcat character here, or like file name, like actual file name like test.txt, or you can do test.star or star.star, or if you want to add everything, document any documents or folders or any files inside this directory, then you just say dot, and then you do git status. Now you can see it's in green, so it has been added to git. Now we need, the next step is to do this commit command, where you do git commit -m, then any comments really. So let's do that. Git commit -m added test.txt is our comment. We did that. Now if I do git status, it says nothing to commit because we have committed in our local repository, which is demo1. So this is now completed for your laptop. Now how do we push this code out to the GitHub repository, the remote repository? So let's see, what does it say? So to deliver to remote repository, what you need to do is you need to use two commands. First is git remote add login, git remote add origin, sorry, and then use https URL that I showed earlier when we were creating a GitHub project. So I will go to my GitHub. This is https URL. I'll just click here and it will copy, and then I come back to my terminal, and let's say I do git remote add origin, and then I put my URL here. That's it. Once you have done that, you can do git push -u origin master, enter. So now it is asking for username. So our username is Danesh. Now the password, you can give your password whatever you use to register your this GitHub account. So that's one thing. So some users don't like to give every time user ID and password. Obviously there are some advantages and disadvantages as well. So the key advantage would be if you use SSH URL, then you basically don't need to give this user ID and password every time. You just need to set up once the SSH key, and then it will remember, your computer will know, and GitHub will know that this user is secure and it's valid for this account, and it will let you just push code seamlessly. So we will do that as well, but let's go back to our slide. So we have done the git remote add origin through https URL, and we already push our code. So now let's go back and check our project. So if I do refresh on this, I can see here test.txt has been added, our comments added test.txt, we can see here, and right now this file is literally empty. So let's do one more thing. Let's go back to the terminal, do command K, and if I do ls, I can see test.txt. So do nano on test.txt and do some change. Let's say do change one, and I do exit from this file. And now if I do git status, so I can see red, it means something, it has already identified my change. So I obviously need to do git add dot and then git commit -m comment added change 1. That's it really. You did that. Do git status again. You can see this, it has already been taken. Then what else? You have done the commit in your local repository, but if you click here, you will still not see that change. There's nothing added because you haven't done the push. So now the next command we do is our last command which we did earlier while adding this file, which is git push -u origin master. You just need to do this, and then obviously we are not using SSH for this repository, so it is asking me the username. Username is whatever username you select, and the password, that's 2017. That's it. Now if I refresh here and go here, I can see my text change 1. So that's how it works really. Okay, so there are a couple of more commands which I wanted to cover. Is git log. You can obviously see your history of commands which you used recently, or git help. That also is available to, if I do git log, I can see I did commit, so the recent log you can see here, and then git help. If you do git help, you can see all sorts of command which are available with the git. All right, so that's done. Now let's see how we can use SSH URL option, which we saw earlier while creating GitHub account. So the advantage of SSH is you don't need to give your username and password every time you push code into repository. So obviously it's a popular choice among developers, but it comes with some cost. Like since it doesn't ask username and password, you have to be really careful that you use this only on your personal laptop. If you're using any shared computer or public computer, then definitely I would not recommend to go for SSH option, because remember, you don't need to give any password or anything for that. GitHub will assume that anything coming from this computer is from this user, and it's all good to go. So it will allow you to check in anything or push anything to GitHub. So let's so what do you need to do to set up your SSH? So first thing you can do is obviously you can do this ls command, ls-al onto your SSH directory to see if there is any key present already. So if I do this, I can see these two files are created, IDRSA and IDRSA pub. This is the public key and the private key combination. So this public key data you need to copy and paste into your GitHub accounts SSH options. So we'll do that in a bit, but before that you also need to add this key into SSH agent. So before that, let's say if you don't have those files on your laptop, so what you do is you just run this ssh-keygen -trsa-b 4096-c and then your email ID which you used to register your GitHub account. So I don't know what 4096 means to this command, but yes, these are pretty much same in any Mac or Windows Git Bash command line. So you just use ssh keygen command and it will generate those two files in your machines .ssh folder. So once you have got these two files, the next stage is to add these keys to SSH agent and store password in your keychain. So to do that, you just need to run this command ssh-add-k and onto your SSH directory, and this is your ID file, ID_RSA. So this will be stored in your keychain. So once that is done, the next stage is, so just to quickly recap, because we really moved very quickly here. So what we do, what actually you did here is you just went to your terminal and checked through ls command onto ssh directory whether these files are created or not, and if these are, let's say, not created, or it's the folder is empty, then you did ssh keys and command to create this two file id underscore rsa. So while running this command, there is another thing to remember is it will ask you uh, if these files are not there for name of the file. So you just need to click enter. You don't need to give any file name specific to this activity, but if you really want to change, you can do that as well. But I would recommend to just use the default names for the sake of learning initially. And then once you have done that, you added your id underscore rsa, basically your keys to ssh agent, and store the password in the key chain. Once that is done, the next and last step in your terminal side is you just did do pb copy command on this public key file. So remember we had two files, id underscore rsa and then id underscore rsa.pub. So now we are copying all the contents from this file using this command. Obviously if you are using git bash in windows, the command will be different, so we won't go to that right now. We are covering commands for Mac. So pb copy, and then this command will copy into a clipboard. Now next step is to go to your GitHub account, go to settings, so click SSH and GPG keys. There are two ways to do that. We are covering SSH keys one. GPG is also obviously GNU-PG is an open source way. We'll cover in some other video on that part, but SSH keys we already have. The public key is copied here. In my case, I have already copied here, as you can see. But let's say if you don't have, you'll see something like this. You can give any title. I would recommend to give something which you can remember and identify your which laptop. If you're having multiple laptops, you can, you know, give like something like my Mac 1 or something, or my Mac work, or my Mac personal, something, so you know which laptop is using this SSH key. Once you have done that, you just do Control V here, because if you run this command here, pb copy, it copies everything here, and you just need to come here and do Control V. And as you can see, your email ID will be clearly identifiable here. You can see that. So once that is done, you just add the SSH key really. Once you do that, you can see here you can have multiple SSH keys. You can delete the key if if you're changing your laptop. I would recommend to come back here and delete this key here for safety reason. So once that is done, you're all good to go. And now next thing is, remember when adding this repository, what we did in this tab is we did the git remote add origin https URL. So now we need to run this command again to add SSH for this project, which is called demo1. So I go to my repository demo1. So coming back to repository demo1, we copy. Now remember, currently we are using https URL, so we want to go back to SSH, basically to avoid giving the password. So let's select this SSH URL and go to the terminal. So when we go here, basically there is a command called git remote -v, which I have listed here. So git remote -v, basically this will list, or this is how you can verify what is listed. So I have already changed to SSH, so you're seeing here. So instead of this, you should be able to see your HTTPS URL. And then to change the URL from HTTPS to SSH, you just need to run this command git remote set URL, and then this SSH URL which we copied from this location. So whatever you have copied will go here, and once it is done you just enter. So the command is git remote set URL origin, and then you change the origin from HTTPS to SSH. Once you have done that, you're done with it, and basically it should work without any user ID and password. But you just need to execute this two commands, remote to view the URL and this remote set URL, only if you're following this tutorial. If, let's say, while following this tutorial at this step, get remote add the origin. So first time while adding the origin, if you directly use your SSH URL here, then you don't need to perform this step of set URL. So this set URL is basically updating that choice which we made at this stage, HTTPS URL. So this is just an additional information for you. If you're following this tutorial and end up using HTTPS, and then you want to go to SSH, then you need to use this two command. To first is git remote -v to verify, and then git remote set URL origin to change from HTTPS to SSH. Once you have done that, it becomes really easy to change any file and commit. So let's see, what do we have? We have got test.txt. I do nano to test.txt. Obviously I did the change 3 while setting up the SSH. So let's see, I type change 4 and I come out of this, say yes, that's it. And then if I do git status, I can see the changes there. Then I do git add, and then I do git commit -m added change 4, enter, and then I do my git push new origin master, because I have done the commit in local repo, and this time it's notice that it is not asking any user ID or password, and it has already committed to the branch master. So now if I go back to this and if I refresh my repository, I can see my change 4 here. So without giving any password, now we are able to do any push. So tomorrow if you want to go back to HTTPS, you just go to use HTTPS, copy this URL, go back to this command, just type git remote -v and see what is being used. If it is SSH, then SSH URL will be listed, and then use this command set URL to change it back to HTTPS, and then it will start using that origin. So that's all really about GitHub, and hopefully it will give you some context how to use GitHub for pushing the code and creating your repository. So there is another thing at the end I want to add is you don't really need to rely on my video to do these commands and all. It's easily available on the GitHub help page. So if you go to github.com GitHub help page, I'll probably put these URLs in my video description, where you can just go to this and how to set up your SSH. All these commands are available here, which is ls-al, which we used in our presentation, generating new SSH key. All these commands are available here, so you don't need to rely on any other documents or videos if you don't want to. And similarly, for changing the remote URL, if you're switching from SSH to HTTPS or HTTPS to SSH. This is what we did. So we did remote v, and that showed us the URL like this, HTTPS, and we moved from using set URL from HTTPS to SSH URL, and that's it. So I'll put both of them in video's description, so you can always go back and use it. So yes, so you are good to go now, and try yourself. Hopefully you like the video, and I'd like your comments, please. Thank you.